Okay, one other video. This is great for being at home. I can show you how to do this. Is blocking. So I've knit this, and I've knit a bunch of them, a bunch of these squares, and I want to sew the squares together. But they're all curly on the edges, and so it's really hard to, to find the edge. But like, if I wanted to sew these together, it would be really difficult when it's all curly like this. So what I need to do first is weave in all of my ends because I have a lot of ends. I guess, I don't know. Technically, I guess you could do it, but I don't know, why would you? Well, actually, it's a good idea to weave in the ends because once you stretch it out, then your ends will stretch with it, and you won't have to like reinvent the wheel with whatever you're weaving in once you've already blocked it. So why don't we go into my studio and I'll show you, I'll weave in my ends, and then I'll show you how to block. Okay, here we are in my studio. I'm just using, the sink in the garage. It's like a utility sink. So I use these little tubs so I can keep them clean. Don't get dye on them or dirt or anything. But you can use your kitchen sink, your tub, your bathtub, your kitchen sink, whatever, or your bathroom sink, whatever. So you just lay it in there, all curly and funky. And now I would not use dishwashing liquid. This is a harsh detergent, and it will be harsh on your woolen things. I use some frilly soap that you get from the frilly soap store that's for hand washing. That's something that's soothing. Or baby soap is probably really good. They also make, there's something called kookaburra or Eucalan. That's expressly made for woolens. There's also something called soak, which I don't think I have any up here. But anyways, but baby soap, cheap baby soap is good. You can use gloves if you need them, but I don't care, whatever. And then you're gonna use water that's room temperature. I'm gonna use some frilly soap, I don't care. And you just give a couple of squirts of some soap just to get a little bit of bubbles happening that will get in between your fibers. That's good. And it'll float at first. It'll take it a while for it to settle down and sink in, but you just do that and leave it for at least a half an hour. Go watch a TV show or something like that, and then we'll do the next step. Okay, so this thing has been sitting here for some time. I'll roll up my sleeves. And another good thing about blocking is you can tell if your yarn is bleeding or not, and there's no bleeding in here, so this was a really good dye job. But if you do see, some of the dye bleeding into your tub, then give it another good rinse. So you can leave the soap on, you can, rinse the soap off, whatever, it's up to you. I'll leave it on, it smells nice. And the next thing you do not wring it like that. It will stretch out your fabric. It'll make it little engine tears. Just don't do it. And so I kind of ball it up and just give it a good squish like that. And it's still going to be a little drippy with a lot of water. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I have here in my studio. Something called, where is it? Panda. Can you see Panda? And it's get over here. It's a centrifuge. Kind of like a salad spinner. One of those deals. But you turn it on and it wiggles and gets all of the water out. Well, most of the water out as it spins around. Boy, this takes a long time. It takes forever to stop. So you can see it spinning in there a little bit. I'm going to make it stop and pull it out. And now it's not so wet, but it's still damp. Now, if you don't have a salad spinner, you don't have a panda spinner, you don't have any of this fancy stuff, you just take a towel, regular old towel that you have at home, something that's sort of clean. This has got a little bit of dye on it, but it's so old it's not going to get on my stuff. And you lay your doohickey on the towel, and then you just kind of roll it up like so, and then just squish, squish, squish. You know, you can, some people even step on it when you've got a sweater, but you know, it's up to you. Now, the next thing, you could just pin it to your towel if you want, or you can get one of these things that you can get at Joann's. I got one pretty cheap. It's kind of like, I don't know what the hell this thing is. Kind of like an ironing board. It's got like, you can't see into it, but in here is like this material that if you iron it, it will not, you know, it's ironing board proof. It's kind of like an ironing board material. And it has these little measurements which are wrong, so don't use the measurements. But it can help you. It's got the line, so it can help you kind of like figure out how to shape your thing. So, and I have T-pins, so-called, because they're shaped like a T. But, you know, these are just whatever. You don't have to get the fancy T-pins. Just get some pins that you have from your sewing room or whatever. Everybody has pins laying around somewhere. Now you can just pin your you know, your item just like it as it is, you know, like every, you know, inch or so. But sometimes when you do that, it makes like these little peaks, you know, because it's pulling on the needle. So sometimes what I like to do is get a really thin knitting needle. This is, where is it? This is a size 1, and that's the needle size I use to knit it with. So this is a good idea to get the same needle size that you knit it with. And you can go into, see the little V's that you made because you slipped the stitch? Just go into the little V's or somewhere, I don't know, whatever works easier for you. Maybe along the edge of the V's. And just pick up a stitch every inch or so. I don't know, just make it up as you go. And go all the way across your little doodad. And now they're like a little bit straighter. Well, maybe they're not that much straighter. But what you can do is you pin the knitting needle. That way it's kind of like it's got tension across the needle instead of your actual work. So, but you know, and they also make blocking wires that are actual thin wire. It's not a knitting needle, it's just a thin piece of wire that you can use to strand through your needles. It's kind of like, this is what I want to show you this. It's kind of like this, you know, my interchangeable needle set has these little cords. They sell them like this. It's this cord that you can stretch out, and it's got, you know, this has this blobby deal on the end. You can't really like, you know, put it in your stitches, but they have, the blocking wires have that, and you can strand it through, and then you put your T-pins along the little wire, and it holds it nice and straight. I don't have anything that can do that. So I'm just going to fake it till I make it. And then I just stretch it out to, you know, like this kind of bows a little bit because of the way I knit, but if you put it in a way that you want it, you line it up with the little lines, or you can write a line on your towel or whatever that you're using. And then as you pin it here, it'll stay pretty much like that. I mean, you can even see like some of the curl is already starting to not be so curly, because before it was like way down here. So now it's just like a little bit of curly. And once you put the pins in, then it will be even less curly. It'll mold to wherever you put it. That, right? So we'll pin it, I'll leave it, and we'll see what happens when it dries. Okay, so here we are, all nice and dry. And compare that to what it was like before, right? All scrunched up and rolled up. And now it's nice and straight, and we can take the pins out. And it stays, right? No more curl. So that is the advantage of blocking your stuff. So some stuff I do not block are things like mittens, which is just, I'm just gonna put them on anyway, or socks. Some people block their socks religiously, which is like, just put them on your foot. You're gonna get all foot shaped, whatever. So, missed one. And there we go. And it's nice and drapey, right? And now you can sew it together. This, not so much with the drapey. It's kind of like stiff still. This is light and airy. La, la, la. So, okay, that's blocking. Okay, one more thing about blocking then. So, so things like hats, where, like, this is all garter stitch, right? There's no knit and purl. It's a nice stretchy hat. So you don't need to block it because it's already nice and stretchy. Same with a hat like this that I knit in the round, or you could just knit it flat and sew up a seam. It's got the ribbing on the bottom, so it's nice and stretchy. And it just came out flat like this anyway. So there's no need to block something like this, or, especially when you have ribbing. Ribbing on the edges of something keeps your thing flat, right? So you don't have to really block it. This thing is completely ribbed, no need to block anything like that. Only if you're doing like if you're making a sweater and you want to sew up the pieces, totally block the pieces first so that you'll have a nice seam to sew together with, the arm to the body and, all that kind of stuff. But stuff that's already, it's just ready to go, don't bother. Like, why would you do that? But, I mean, it's up to you. But that's the whole thing.